Hey, yo, what the fuck?
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the 606. I'm your host, SES Vince, and the homie Basharat. How's it going, Bosh?
What's up? How's it going?
Uh, as you saw in the intro of today's episode, what the F is really the question here? Because we have to talk about it. I wanted personally. This is on me. I personally wanted to sit.
I have to admit, Vince,
Yes.
before you get started, I know you really want to get into this, but I don't know anything about Doge, so I know we got to talk about it. But sure, man, go for it. I'll try to keep up.
Yeah. So, look, me personally, I wanted to give it a couple days to just kind of like sit and just take in the news. Probably the biggest, if not the most shocking NBA trade in the history of the association, at least the last 10 years. The last time I can't even think of a bigger trade.
Anybody who follows me on Blue Sky knows I did not want to sit. I wanted to talk about it right then and there, and I talked quite a bit on Blue Sky. I jumped all over that shit. That was an epic night.
Yes, obviously we're talking about the massive trade involving the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Lakers, sending Luka Doncic to the LA Lakers in return for essentially Anthony Davis and their 29 first-round pick. We'll go into the trade details and everything as well. There was a third team involved in the Utah Jazz. We'll talk about Danny Ainge and the Jazz later because I found a little informational tidbit that I thought was hilarious about Danny Ainge. First off, Bosh, why don't you go ahead and unload everything that you've wanted to unload since Saturday evening going into Sunday morning. Why don't you just unload a little bit and how you felt when you found out about this trade? Because you didn't know. You hopped in the shower, if I'm not mistaken, and
Dude,
I called you.
I was on Blue Sky not maybe 20 minutes before this, and just like I was looking at it while I was getting some shit done, and then I'm like, you know what, I got to take a shower. I got to prep for our Bulls pod, so I want to take a shower before I did that so I could do the prep and then kind of relax and go to bed after that. And yeah, no, I was in the shower, I was out, I wasn't even dressed, I had a freaking towel on, and you called me, and you said some shit that really made me feel like, Vince, I have to give you some more tips in media literacy and not getting duped by these fucking accounts like NBA Centel and fucking Ballsack Sports. And I was like, Vince, you can't fall for this shit, bro. Right. Like, because you called me up and you said, I don't know what the fuck you said because it couldn't have been true. Some crazy shit. It was like Luka Doncic has been traded. And I'm like, okay, that's insane. Because why would you do that? You position your franchise in order to get a player like Luka Doncic and then build around him. Because that's the whole point of, the NBA, frankly, like unless you land one of these guys and you build around them. So why would you? Maybe he demanded a trade and they found him a new home. But no, you said he got traded to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. And I'm like, yeah, man, this is not real. And then you said, no, it's all over. I'm like, bro, you're hacked. Let me jump into Blue Sky. And then, this is, I kicked it off. I think that was everybody's reaction, man. I think everybody's reaction was, oh, let me double check this source. Or I think everybody said, oh shit, Shams got hacked.
Yes. So obviously a lot of NBA players had similar reactions. Like, no way. This got to be a joke. Who's untouchable? Shams got hacked. All that stuff. Here's how I found out. Shout out to Wallet Media, the Wallet boys over there. Kyle Joseph, Rylan Turner, each individually messaged me on Messenger to tell me about this trade. So much, and the conversations were going so back and forth that I just had to create a group chat with them to
You told me that. You're like, hey, Kyle and Rylan just messaged me. I'm like, bro, they're fucking with you. Like, they're just.
I thought so too.
They had
links. They had sources. Stomps had to quote tweet his original tweet and says, yes, this is real. And then did a follow-up tweet that said 100% or no, 1,000% real. And okay, so
I
let's
honestly thought I saw the people posting stuff
yes.
and I thought, you know what? Twitter itself is probably hacked. I mean, these guys are clowns, the ones who
No,
run
I
that
went to
shit.
Blue Sky. I went to Blue
No, I
Sky to
know.
see the
That's when I saw it on Blue Sky, and then I saw like, no, it's actually the reporters directly are
yes.
confirming it. And I forget who was it who was the first one to directly confirm it. I think it was ESPN's like Tim McMahon or something. And
Tim,
when he said that shit,
Tim McMahon was one of them, sure.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I think he's the first one who confirmed it directly from Nico Harrison because I think he had he had Nico Harrison basically saying that line about like defense wins championships or whatever bullshit
yes,
like
yes. And
that.
you know what? Let's talk about Nico Harrison because obviously now they've had the press conference that he did with Jason Kidd right next to him. That looks like a little kid that just got told no, you can't have Lunchables for dinner, or no, you can't have McDonald's. Is just sitting there and pouting. Because oh my god, Jason Kidd looked like he was biting his lip, like
I don't
trying to
know.
like
They
not
said they were aligned in this. Jason Kidd
no
has
no
lost his mind, if that's true.
no, it's not true.
Uh,
So let's unpack a little bit of like and dispel some of like the rumors and speculation. Luka Doncic did not request a trade. Did not request a trade. After this season, he still had, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years left on his deal. He was eligible for the Supermax extension that was worth $345 million.
by the way,
Oh,
side note, a Supermax
yes.
extension that is explicitly designed. I actually disagree with how it was put in, but it's explicitly designed and put into the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement between the NBA and the Players Association that, governs how all these things work. It's
Yeah.
explicitly in there in order for teams that draft superstars to keep those superstars
Right.
because it's only something available to players who don't leave their original team and who
Exactly.
meet superstar criteria.
Exactly, 100%. And then now with the trade, Luka Doncic is no longer eligible for that. He's lost 117, if not 116 million dollars in that supermax deal. Like he can still sign a max deal. It just won't be that supermax. He's lost over that much amount of money. Everything that we've seen everywhere has suggested that Luka did not want this trade, did not request for this trade, and was actually looking forward to staying with the franchise. Anthony Davis did not ask for this trade. Anthony Davis did not know about this trade. Neither did Luka. Neither did LeBron James. There was some, I can't remember who he was, but he was on CBS Sports YouTube, and they were talking about how like, oh, LeBron's has had frustrations with Anthony Davis. LeBron had to quote tweet that and says, "You're a fucking liar and a clown."
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's some
because
random dude I never heard of,
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah.
some random dude I'd never heard about, and again, no players involved knew about this. No general man besides damn, why am I drawing a blank on the GM for the Lakers? Help me out here. Um,
Rob Pelinka.
besides Rob Pelinka and Nico Harrison, no one knew. Nico Harrison went to the owners and said, "How would you feel about trading Luka?" and laughed at him. He went to he went to Rob Pelinka with this trade, and he's like, "Are you
Oh,
serious?"
it's worse. It's worse because now that we're not commenting, immediately like I kind of wanted to, we actually
Yes,
have more reporting as we knew would come out. That was the best part of Saturday night.
yes,
Um, was that we're having so much fun. I mean, we're dumbfounded, but we're having fun because
mm-hmm.
it's so batshit crazy that people's. I mean, if except if you're in Dallas, my condolences to you if
My
you're in
condolences.
Dallas
Yes,
or are a
shout
Mavericks fan.
the Dallas Mavericks, if not combined, but at least on Instagram alone, lost 170 million
Oh,
followers.
that's a way understatement. I'll go into why later. But no, what was I getting to? Oh, right. So we knew at that point that as crazy as all this seems, it's
Yes,
only going to get crazier because
100%.
reporting is going to come out, and then the principal parties involved in this deal are going to come and talk about it. And because of the nonsensical nature of the trade, no
Yeah,
matter what they said, it was only going to get crazier. So it's come
exactly.
out now and it's been crazier. Here, let me quote something from a recent article on The Athletic that I've got up right here
Yeah,
from a collaboration. Looks like Vicini and no, it's not Sam Vecini. Sam Amick, Joe Varden, Fred Katz. Here's just a little quote here. The Lakers could not talk to Doncic's agent, Bill Duffy, about the trade because both sides, Dallas and LA, wanted to keep negotiations a secret.
Yes.
Mentioning the behind the scenes details, blah, 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 would put the information at risk of becoming public. If the trade didn't materialize, then they believe the prospect of being left with a disgruntled franchise centerpiece could be disastrous.
No shit.
Yeah, number one, no shit. Number two, bro, you already made this decision. If that trade didn't materialize, you can trade him somewhere else. This is how little they understood the value of
Listen,
the player. They don't
Bosh,
understand that this is a player you can trade at any point at any time to almost any team.
Bosh, I'm telling you right now, that this man genuinely did not do his due diligence. This almost feels like, from everything we've heard, it really just feels like he had some sort of like vendetta or resentment towards Luka Doncic. Maybe something was said in passing, or maybe he just discriminated against him for like whatever reason. The reporting was that his availability was a concern because of his cardio and his weight issue. That was the big issue with
we
Luka
have
Doncic.
to get all right. I think there's so much shit to talk about with this. Let's go point by point.
Yes.
Because we'll have to get to the cardio and the weight thing. Let's go number one. A little background. So beyond that, the other reporting that came out on ESPN and elsewhere, and I think directly as a quote from Nico Harrison, whose name we're not going to have to remember much longer.
No.
Whenever his Mavericks tenure ends, that shit is over. He should never work in the NBA again. In fact, shout out to Blue Sky user Girardi who said something about the sort of like mentality of these business execs who come in and don't understand like people in basketball, and they just think everything about gutting things down and maximizing value. They think they're smarter. I think because Nico Harrison was that Nike executive who fumbled Steph Curry for Nike, by the way.
Yeah, 100%.
I think like this
Curry.
Yeah, this should put the kibosh on any shoe executives coming over again. In fact, now I'm questioning the Bulls because I've been thinking Arturas Karnisovas was like the sole moron in Chicago, but now I'm looking at Mark Eversley because he also came from that shoe background. Like maybe this man's an idiot too. I wouldn't hire a single executive from a shoe company again.
No,
this is insane.
But like we were mentioned, point number two is the whole cardio thing, the issue about the concerns about his availability. Yet you go ahead and trade for a man. Again, like I said, shout out Anthony Davis. I love Anthony Davis, Chicago's own.
Chicago's Anthony Davis, who I spent at least a decade trying to figure out imaginary trades to get him here.
Exactly. The man's 31 years old. He's still a top 10 player in the league when healthy. He's been balling out this year. He's been having monstrous games. Yeah. Fantastic, yes. However, he is now currently injured, and he has been questioned about in availability, whether it's in the regular season or the playoffs. And you go ahead and trade a young stud, 25 years old, in or about to reach the max of his prime because of availability issues, and then you have concerns about whether or not he wanted to stay with Dallas.
Well, here's the thing.
From everything I heard, dude, like he loved Dallas and wanted to stay there. He wanted to sign that super.
Bro, they just went to the finals. He's been to two Western Conference finals.
How are you going to tell me? Like, I love Anthony Davis, but how are you going to tell me that because the quote was idiotic, because this trade, according to Nico Harrison, helps them in the currently and in the future. It helps them compete now, but also helps them in the future.
Let's get to the compete part later. Like I said, let's go point by point. So let's address this thing about the conditioning and all that nonsense and availability and potential of injuries. Like you said, the Anthony Davis part of it and of him not being available, a lot of people are focusing on that. To me, that's just like, that's the cherry on top. That's just a funny bit, right? That's just because this just makes the entire thing funnier. Like, that's what it is. I don't care if they traded for like whoever, like an 82 games a year player, DeMar DeRozan, like, level of health. I don't care. That doesn't matter.
No,
they could trade for a player who has never been injured and who can regrow his bone like Wolverine. Okay. And it doesn't matter because they're trading away one of the few, only handful of players in the NBA who are pre-prime. They have not yet reached their prime, and who you can build an entire team around who can lead you to a championship. That's it.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
there's like five guys. There's like Shea, and there's, I guess Jokic is actually in his prime. You know, he's not
Yes.
even
So
pre-prime.
I think there's maybe five
Victor,
untradeable
there's
guys.
Victor Wembanyama,
Victor
there's Shea.
Wembanyama, Shea, Nikola Jokic, and then Luka Doncic. Those are four. And this, I said Shea, right? I said
Yeah,
Shea.
yeah.
Yeah. Who else? Who else is untradeable at the moment?
I mean, there's players. I think
Giannis,
Giannis. Yeah. I guess.
Giannis,
Yeah.
Jokic, Luka, Victor, and SGA. These are five players that you don't trade if you have on your team, unless unless they actively request a trade. Why would you give them
Well,
up?
again, the whole point, and I would even let's leave Giannis and even Jokic out of it, because those are the guys currently in it.
Yeah,
Shea and
Victor
Luca and Victor are
next.
the only ones who are the ones that you build around now. Like, teams are waiting to get that player. Everybody
Oh,
tanking right now
oh,
is hoping that
yes.
a Cam Boozer next year, or what's his face, Flag this year,
Cooper
Cooper Flag
Flag.
this year,
Yeah,
is going to be like Luca or Shea or
exactly.
Victor. That you then
Man.
get this guy, and now your step one is done. You build around that guy, because that's the hardest guy to get. If you trade that guy, number one, you trade him in a market where you have historically struggled to get free agent stars. I mean, the most other famous like social media frenzy was when they signed a third level sub-star player from the Clippers, and it was such a big get. And then the entire Clippers team went to reverse it, and the whole thing was a fiasco and awesome to watch on social media. That's the type of fiascos you have with signing free agents in Dallas.
Yeah.
You know, no, it just
Shout out
doesn't
the
happen.
end.
They tank for years to have a
Yeah.
shot at signing guys like Darren Williams and Dwight Howard and all
Never
those
got
guys
them.
in their prime, and it
Never
doesn't
received them.
happen.
No, 100%. They
So
the reason
this isn't like even an LA or New York situation where they're like, oh, we can get this guy like this in free
no,
agency.
no, and again, look, I'm gonna go ahead and quote like Luca. Luca posted after like having a few days to like sit here. He posted today, "Dear Dallas, 7 years ago, I came here as a teenager to pursue my dream of playing basketball at the highest level. I thought I'd spend my career here, and I wanted so badly to bring you a championship. The love and support you all have given me is more than I could have ever dreamed of. For a young kid from Slovenia coming to the U.S. for the first time, you made North Texas feel like home." He felt like it was home, Bosch,
Yeah,
in good times
it
and
was
bad.
home. They loved
From it,
him.
yeah, they loved him. Injuries, NBA Finals, your support never changed. Thank you not only for sharing my joy in our best moments, but also lifting me up when I needed it the most. To all the organizations I've worked with through the Dallas community, thank you for letting me contribute to your important work and join you in bringing light to those who need it. As I start the next chapter of my basketball journey, I'm leaving a city that will always feel like home away from home. Dallas is a special place, and Mavs fans are special fans. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Does that sound like a player that wanted to leave Dallas?
It
No.
doesn't matter. Even if he wanted to leave Dallas, it doesn't matter, because he can't leave until a year and a half from now. And
No.
even at that point, you're the only team that could offer him the supermax. Most
Exactly.
players would sign that and then ask for a trade. Even if he wants to leave in a year and a half. Look, I was going to get to the point that you were getting to earlier,
Yeah.
later, but let's just do it now. The fact that Anthony Davis gives them better. You know what? They're a really good team because around Luca,
100%.
right? So adding Anthony Davis, their defense is going to be amazing. If AD is healthy, they'll be good this year. I
Okay.
don't think they'll be good enough to win a championship, but they have a legitimate shot. You can't say they don't. But
It really just depends on their first round matchup. Because if I'm not mistaken, currently I'll have to look at the current standings, but it looks like
the standings are so close to me that, like, it doesn't quite matter.
they're playing territory at the moment as it currently
Yeah,
stands.
but they're like 2 games away from home court advantage or something, or 3 games, I think.
Let me double check that just be sure. Yeah, Dallas. From having home court, they're like 2.5. No, not even. To get home court, they have to move up 4.5 games just to have home court advantage.
Yeah. Well, it's not that big a swing, basically between numbers
Yes.
4 through 7 right now, right? And something like that. Um, but basically, it doesn't matter. Like, yes, they are still good. They could conceivably even win the championship. I
No,
think that's
no,
still no. I think
no.
they're good enough. I think they're good enough.
It
I don't think
depends
they
on
will.
it depends on what else they're able to
No, I
get.
said conceivably.
Because
There's a
isn't
path that, like, oh, OKC gets upset or whatever. There's a path. They could possibly win it. That's not
isn't Derek
ludicrous.
Lively still injured, or how long is he going to
He's
be out
injured.
for?
He's out. I have a bad feeling about how long he'll be out, but supposedly he should be back before the playoffs. We'll see.
We'll see.
Um, Regardless, like they could win it, right? Like it's not ludicrous, like saying the Bulls are going to win it or something, okay? Or the Hawks. Like those would be
I
ludicrous.
mean, the West doesn't have like a mega power or like two top teams at the top of the hill that you have to like fight for your life to try to beat. Like the East has the Boston Celtics, and to a lesser extent, they also have the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't want to discredit the Cavaliers, but they don't have that experience, but also
They
that
haven't won shit yet.
they haven't won. Yeah, thank you, thank you. I was
So
trying to figure out the nice way to put it, but they
there's
haven't
no
won
nice way.
shit.
Look, Cleveland's a great story. I'm gonna love to see them in the playoffs. They haven't won shit.
Shout out to Cal
So
Joseph. He called the Cavaliers to
he
a
did
no
call them. He
to a
did call them.
T.
Hey, I got
Yeah,
to get credit for my Grizzlies take though. All right,
yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
Okay, yeah.
But
Credit all
yeah,
around.
I'm saying that they're even with the trade, they're legitimate. They're not a legitimate contender, but they're like a fringe contender. If they
if
found a way
if
to
they
win it,
get if
yeah.
they get out of the play-in, Bosch, I can legitimately see them making noise. But if they have to go through the play-in, then still go through a first round, and God forbid they match up with OKC, I think they're
They're
out in the
Vince.
first
That's what
round.
I'm saying. They're conceivably like you don't have to pick like the perfect path, but there's a way for them to get there. And they're not like
We'll
there's
suppose.
2.5 months of season left. They're not going to
Yeah.
necessarily be in the play-in. We don't
We'll
know that.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
We've gone 20 plus minutes in here and we haven't
But
talked about the
but
trade
look, it
details.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if if they win a championship right now, okay, this year or next year. Even if Luka was going to leave, you still had the same chance of winning a championship this year and next year, okay, that you do otherwise. AD is 31. If you
Yeah.
could have the same chance of winning a championship and then trading the Luka Doncic, you know what I'm saying? That's why it doesn't matter to me whether you're just as good right now or not. The
Yeah.
problem is you could be just as good, but you then were also better for like the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, six, seven. For the better part of the next decade, you had a chance to win a championship. And even if you wanted out, you could then trade him to anyone in the league for any package that would make you better for the future or the present, however you decided to do it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, man, it really time will tell how it will go. Like, are they a good team right now? Yes, they haven't like drastically decreased. They're good. They also got Max Christie in the deal. And like I was saying, we're 20 minutes plus in, and we haven't talked about the trade details. I think we should talk about the trade details now.
Throw them up on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw. No, let me do this one. Let's do this one. So right here we have the Los Angeles Lakers receiving Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris. That alone, that adds two pieces that if the roster stays as is, it's good. I think they still need to target a big because they need a center because they can't just go with Jackson Hayes as their starting center into the playoffs. It's ridiculous. The Dallas Mavericks received Max Christie, a 2029 first round pick, which at this point in time looks like it's going to be a late first round pick. Because if Luka's on the team in 2029, you can forget that being a valuable pick. Obviously, they get Anthony Davis. At that point in time, he might be gone from the team. And so he might not even be around to see the fruits of that 2029 pick late, like come to fruition. The Utah Jazz received Jalen Hood Shafino and 2 second-round picks, 2025 from the Max, 2025 from the Clippers. I'm not sure who had the Clippers pick. If I'm not mistaken, it might have been the Mavericks or the Lakers, either or. Yeah, what's funny about this to me is that I don't know if you saw or not, but Danny Ainge had no idea that you saw the PJ Tucker trade, right?
Yeah, that was the first trade of the trade deadline.
So that trade was done to free up the roster space to taking Jalen Hood Shafino because they knew they were going to receive draft picks compensation in return. Danny Ainge did not realize that he was helping facilitate a Luka Doncic to the Lakers trade. He had no idea that the actual compass of the trade was going to be Luka to the Lakers, AD to the Mavericks.
Yeah,
He's
that's definitely how because if they were making this trade, they would definitely have to pitch him as, hey, we're doing a trade. We being Dallas and LA Lakers, we need you to help facilitate the trade. Here's what you will get. You don't have to tell them what you're doing outside of what they would get. As
exactly,
long as they agree to what they would get, you can move forward, and then they
exactly,
find out when the trade is finalized. So that's definitely what happened because
yeah,
because Utah would not help them do this trade, not even because out of spite or they don't want LA to get Doncic or any of that. Utah holds LA's fucking 2028 pick, I want to say, first
if
round
yeah.
pick. This trade destroys that value of
Oh,
that
completely
pick.
gone. It's in the gutter. And then on top of that, like Danny Ainge is like, look, he's a good GM, but he's a petty bitch. Like if he can make sure that the Lakers are never good again, he will make, even if it's in the detriment of his own franchise, he will make sure that he does not help the Lakers in any way, shape, or form. The fact that they had to keep it from him too, and then he found out 30 minutes later. Apparently, he was trying to go back and like back out of the trade, and by then it was too late. Because he said if he knew
Like I
that
said, he should want to back out because one of their most valuable assets has now lost at least half of its
he
value.
has he has so many reasons. He has three main reasons. One, the draft pick value that they own from the Lakers in 2028 just drops. Number two, pettiness, spite. It's Lakers. He's a Celtic legend. Sure. Yeah. Pettiness runs deep with the Celtics and the Lakers. I get it. And number one, that's one of their main competitions in the Western Conference. Now you make the LA Lakers. Not only did they get Luka Doncic, they still have LeBron James, who we haven't even factored into the equation that yes, they're going to try to play with him this year, but he has 1 year left on his contract. Either A, he retires, and then now you easily transition from the LeBron era to the Luka era. And like you quoted, like I'm quoting you so many times, they saved the Lakers because they
They
had no,
saved their fucking future, man. These
yeah,
motherfuckers. I can't stand this shit. For LA to just fucking get this, like, I know you have Laker fandom. I only liked Kobe. I don't like LA outside of like the Lakers. Outside of that, I kind of despise them. And like
if it wasn't for Kobe, I wouldn't like the Lakers.
I,
And it
I
was
only liked him for that. I kept hoping Kobe would go somewhere else. I hate the Lakers. Fuck the Lakers. And this type of shit, man. For like to just end up with Luka Doncic, you did nothing like to earn him. Like they
no
didn't woo him. He didn't want to come there. They didn't have the best package. They have possibly one of the worst
Bosh,
packages to fucking
Bosh.
offer.
Nico Harrison about 3 to 4 weeks ago admitted that he went actively to like had like a dinner with Rob
This is the
Pelinka.
best part I was going to get to.
Okay, okay.
It's not that Dallas went to LA to do the trade. Yeah, that's kind of true, but that was the initial reporting because we didn't have the details. What's come out since then is that this dullard, this absolute fucking fool, this child in a business suit went is friends with Rob Pelinka because this moron was his fucking Nike executive. Rob Pelinka was an agent, so they're
Yep.
friends from those days. And he was just
Uh-huh.
hanging out with them. And Pelinka said some shit like, "Would you ever do this?" And this guy was like, "Haha, no." And then he's like, "I thought about it," and I was like, "Maybe." Like, you fucking retard. I'm sorry, I
No,
shouldn't even
no,
use that's
no.
ableist language. I shouldn't even use
It,
that. But
if I'm not mistaken, it was the other way around. If I'm not mistaken, it was Nico Harrison that said, "Would you ever trade me Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic?"
I believe if you look at it's kind of vague. When you look at the story, I want to pull it up here again if I
Yeah,
can.
but like I said, let me
It's kind
unpack
of
that.
vague because all he says is he says this is how it went. One of us said, "Would you ever do this?" And then it was like, no. And then it was like, well, maybe. And the way it sounded to me, I know that everyone's interpreting it as like Nico said it to him. The way it sounds to me is that Pelinka said that to him, and he was like, "Oh, actually, maybe I would." Like,
Here's
but
here's the thing.
either way it goes, Pelinka then talked in this other article that I was reading about it. It details. Damn, this might be a different article. There's too many right now, but
Look,
it details the way that Pelinka then convinced him that Luka was actually too injury prone and not.
it was him leading him like leaning into Nico Harrison's already belief of like, oh, I don't know, like his unavailability, his conditioning, his weights, he might leave like in free agency in a couple years. Apparently, there was multiple picks involved in this trade, plus Dalton Connect.
And then
as well.
Pelinka convinced him to take less because Luka's too unreliable.
Forget anything I've ever said about Rob Pelinka. If he in fact was the one that just threw it out there to Nico Harrison, was like, "Hey, would you ever trade Luka for Anthony Davis?" and got that, and then not only did he help start that conversation, but then on top of that, talked them off the ledge to giving him less stuff. He didn't even give them everything that the Lakers could. That 2031 pick is still available, and originally the Lakers said they would only be willing to trade one of those picks, but now you have Luka Doncic on your team. If you can trade that pick plus some players to add another guy, because they need a big, Bosh. And I think as much as we want to sit here and talk about everything involved with the Lakers and
hold up,
the
real
Mavericks,
quick, that pick. If you really think Luka's that like not going to be like a long-term superstar because he's not able to condition, you moron. You should at least get the 2031 pick that's further down the road.
exactly.
Not the one like what kind of fool does this and doesn't even get the better pick? Not forget about even getting both. You get one and you're too dumb to know the one you should get is the one that's further down the road.
Listen, it's just it's mind-boggling, and honestly, at this point,
I can't give credit to Pelinka like you did, because there's only two GMs who you could sun this badly, like in a trade. That they have to be actual, literal, incompetent children level intellects. There's no other way. Like again, LA didn't earn this. He wasn't a genius outsmarting, a Presti or something.
I'm not calling him a genius. I'm just saying that if he did throw it out there just to see,
you're right. Yeah,
and he got him to bite. So it's one thing
if
he's like, I'm going to go fishing. Let me see if I can fish something out of this guy, and you're able to lure him in. And then once you're in there, you're able to like not only lure in what you want, but not give up everything you can. You got to get some sort of credit. I'm not saying he's a genius level.
No. I will say, I mean,
he's not Sam Presti.
He's smart enough. He's good enough at his job to know that there are a couple general managers.
He saved his job with this trade.
Worse than him. Oh, he definitely, like, he saved his job. He's one of the most fumbling GMs. Constantly, he makes some good trades. He makes some, but definitely he's on the bottom. He's on the bottom of the list,
yes,
because every year he's got to completely like reevaluate what he did, and it turns out everything he did before is a disaster, and he's got to undo half of his trades. But he's only saved by the fact that there is this moron in Dallas and there's another moron in Chicago, and those are the only two that are worse than him. And he would, at least he had the like wherewithal to recognize that, like, hey, this guy's possibly like more of a gullible moron than I am. Maybe I can get something out of him. And he got the biggest haul of all time.
Honestly. Okay, so we're about at the 30-something minute mark, so we're only going to give this a few more minutes. And as we're going to finish things off, I think what we got to look at now is on the basketball side of things. And I think what we'll start with first is the Dallas Mavericks. Or do you want to start off with the Lakers first?
Let's go Mavericks, because I think there's less there, but go ahead.
There's less to do there. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to pull up the graphic from Bobby Marks that he tweeted out. Shout out to Bobby Marks. We may not, or at least Bosh may not enjoy hearing your voice on a regular basis, but I do appreciate your graphics. You do help the cause over here at 606. So let's pull up his graphic. We have the projected starting five of Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford. Anthony Davis wanted centers, and boy, did he get centers, because he's going to start with Daniel Gafford, Chicago legend. He also has Derek Lively there if he is available and ready by the playoff time. And then you also have Dwight Powell as well. You could go down and play some 5 minutes, play him with PJ Washington. Obviously, you still have reserves here and Spencer Dinwiddie, Dante Exum, Quentin Grimes, who I love, Jaden Hardy, I love as well. You picked up Max Christie in the deal as well, Najee Marshall, Omax Prosper. They have some players here. It's I don't see them. It really just depends on how Clay and Kyrie play and are healthy and available throughout the playoffs. They're a really
Look,
good team.
it's to me, look at this roster on the screen right now. This is to
Yeah.
me like, yeah, they're not the best in the West, but they are definitely right up there with any other team as long as their players are relatively healthy. You have shooting to surround a stellar defense. Okay, PJ Washington can do both at the three, but they can also decide to start Najee Marshall if they want more defense. The
Yeah.
Quentin Grimes is good off the bench. Dante Exum is another player who provides that defense. And then, with Gafford, Lively, frankly, Jason Kidd, got to give him a lot of credit.
Yes.
Huge jumps in his coaching ability from
I
stop to
can't
stop.
believe I can't believe we're in 2025 and we're actually praising Jason Kidd as a coach. That's
I mean,
crazy.
yeah, no, even when he first came to Dallas that first year, it was like, holy crap, this guy did really good job of working on his like weaknesses, and he's a better coach than he was in Milwaukee. And in Milwaukee, he was a better coach than he was in Brooklyn. So,
100%. I agree.
shout out to him.
Jason Kidd is such a good coach that if he had known about the Luka trade, he would have quit.
You have to hope so. You have to hope so.
Uh,
But yeah, so you look at your shooting. There's a dynamic playmaker in Kyrie Irving, and he's willing to, as you saw with Luka, move off the ball and kind of make quicker decisions and all of that. He's very adaptable, man. Credit to him. Every time I think he's not a good fit somewhere, he adapts his game enough to fit the superstars around him. Although now he is the superstar along with Anthony Davis still. So I think with Gafford and Lively, Davis is really good throwing that little lob on the short roll, as big to big sort of lob. Big to big passes will be very good from AD. AD's terrible as a primary creator. You just give him the ball and just let him decide what to do. But as a secondary, like he's coming off the pick and roll with Kyrie, getting the ball and then moving it. He's very good at that. Very, very good at that. You're muted, Vince.
Thanks. See, here's the thing. If the trade was Kyrie Irving for Anthony Davis,
obviously, yeah.
This team would be one of my favorites to win the West because now you have Anthony Davis, you have Klay Thompson, you have PJ Washington, you have Daniel Gafford, and all the other rotational. They have a really good team in terms of like rotational pieces.
And again, the reason I talk about the defense is I don't have the stats. I should have pulled it up, but they're one of the best defensive teams that was with Luka, who everybody knows is kind of one of the worst defenders, right? As much as he brings it up sometimes in the playoffs.
They were one of the best defense with Luka and Kyrie.
Right. But now you're losing your worst defender in Luka and adding a phenomenal defender in AD. That's why I say they could have the defensive chops to be really good.
We'll see. I honestly, like, I don't have that much faith in them because it's I don't know. Part of it's Clay. Part of it's
everybody on their roster is aging to some degree, except for the bigs, except for PJ, Gafford, and Lively. Right? Like
Bosh. If this was like even 5 years ago, I would have been like, man, this is the finals
obviously,
team.
5 years ago, like that's the whole point. AD is on the other side of 30. He's not old. He's still got a few years left.
Well, he's barely on the other side of 30. He just turned 31.
But that's the other side of 30. That's what I mean. If he was on this side of 30, even, you'd be like, well, he's going to be 30 soon. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Yeah.
That's 5 years ago is a different conversation.
Yeah.
This is now, and now this is This is the end. This is the last few years of AD being an All NBA player, depending on even if he can even stay healthy.
We'll see. Fingers crossed AD is able to stay healthy because I still love the guy. He's one of my favorite players.
But even if he does, he's only got a couple of years of All NBA play left.
He does.
He may be really good for longer, but as an All NBA player,
when his contract expires might be when it his
that's
his clock ends.
Exactly.
Yeah. So okay, Bosh. Before we move on to the Lakers and finish off this episode, because we're getting to that point of the episode, any specific thing that you, if you're the Mavericks, you target before the Thursday's trade deadline? Like not a specific player, but
Maybe like a
specific.
secondary ball handler now,
Okay.
because you don't want to, you want to have less pressure on Kyrie. I mean, you do, and you can't really count Exum as injury issues too.
Mhm.
I mean, they could really use, they could really use Lonzo. um,
Lonzo, Trey Jones, Kobe White.
yeah, I don't know about Trey Jones. Maybe they could. Kobe White, they could definitely use a player like that, like a secondary ball handler and some shooting. If they
Yeah.
could add somebody who could, like take over the three and kind of move PJ Washington and Najee Marshall to more of like bench, like
Yes.
matchup
Yes.
dependent
Yes.
roles. If they become more matchup dependent players and they get a three who can both shoot and play defense, I think they're really cooking.
All right. So we'll see. Let's move on to the Lakers with the graphics so we can round off this episode. And here's their depth chart plus the projected starting lineup. They have Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, Rui Hachimura, and Jackson Hayes, which makes sense because Jackson Hayes is probably their only center left that isn't Christian Wood, and I don't think you should be playing Christian Wood all that much in 2025. Off the bench, they have Gabe Vincent, Shake Milton, Dalton Connect, who I love. Bronny James, can't forget Bronny James. He makes this all work.
You can forget him.
Cam Reddish is on the team. Dorian Finney-Smith, who I love. I think if you're the Lakers, I think you try to keep him for sure.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
Oh yes,
Luca and DFS. Remember that conference finals team? That was awesome.
Yes, Jared Vanderbilt and Maxi Kleber, who at this point is just contract filler at this point.
Yeah.
Markieff Morris, who, if I'm not mistaken, is reunited with the Lakers, and like I mentioned, Christian Wood is there as well. Personally, here, look, this trade was obviously not designed for this season because they're going to be a playoff team. I think worst case scenario, they get eliminated in the first round. I mean, well, absolute worst case scenario is they get to the play-in and don't make it out of the play-in, but this team's going to make it out of the play-in for sure, just based off what they have right now. If I'm looking at the roster, I'm looking at guys like Gabe Vincent, Shake Milton, Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris. To a lesser extent, Dorian Finney-Smith, but if I'm them, I try to keep them. Maybe even Jackson Hayes. I think you just try to get a serviceable big. Yes, we talk about like the big center name out there is Nikola Vucevic. Yeah, unless you're able to get him for like Rui Hachimura and like a throw-in guy in the first round pick, I wouldn't do that.
I mean, you could, but I don't think he's a good fit there, man. Like that doesn't make sense. Their defense is going to be atrocious. It's already going to be atrocious.
No, exactly. So there are other names out there that you can try to go ahead. Isn't Jonas Valanciunas on the Wizards and available?
Also, not great, but yeah, he is.
But he could be had for maybe like a Jared Vanderbilt and like something.
Yeah, that's a good point. You could get him for not giving up anything.
Yeah,
because Vanderbilt's a bad contract though.
Yes.
I think with Washington, the thing is, just because they don't need Valanciunas doesn't mean you can just get him. You got to give them something because they're going to be like, well, then why bother? He's good for our young guys. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
If they're not getting at least an okay second, then why even bother? So you got to do that at least.
Maybe you
especially if you're giving them a bad contract like Vanderbilt at the moment.
Maybe you can flip a Rui Hachimura for Clint Capella. I think that could help them in the short term. Because they're going to make this trade.
Capella would be good. Just like he catches lobs off of Trae Young. Luka would be great finding him. I think the ideal player for them to get, well, obviously Anthony Davis, but the ideal player for them to get who, would be like Jalen Smith on the Bulls. So, who is a kind of switchable big, who he may not be great defensively, but he's got some shot blocking ability, and he also can shoot the three, and he can play off the roll off your players. And it's like, okay, we can make this work. Our offense can be good enough to make, okay.
I can see that. I can see that. So the big target, if I'm the Lakers, I go after Time Lord. If he's healthy and available to play, go after Robert Williams III.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that would be great for them defensively. The only problem is, that he also can't play much. But you're right. Maybe you can get him fairly cheap, and you might as well try.
Yeah, I mean, you throw in Rui Hachimura. Like, if they are willing to part with that 2031 round pick, 2031 first round pick, then I say you go for it. You do it 100%. And just
I wouldn't trade that for somebody you can't count on like Robert Williams.
No. I didn't mean him specifically. I just meant someone in general. So if I'm the Lakers, I think based off what you have right now, you got contracts. and Gabe Vincent, Jordan Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura, and Markieff Morris, Maxi Kleber, guys that you can throw in there, Cam Reddish as well. Those are the only guys. If I'm the Lakers right now, obviously don't trade LeBron unless he wants to be traded, and Golden State comes in, offers you like Kevon Looney.
I would gauge LeBron's interest in being traded for sure.
I would gauge
because now it's time to build around Luka. If you can, I don't mind keeping LeBron and having two of them together. What a legendary!
If I'm the Lakers, I would keep them just for this season.
Yeah,
just for this season. And if you see that it doesn't work, then you go ahead and trade him. But you don't want to be the team that trades LeBron James.
But if LeBron's interest, yeah, go ahead.
With LeBron James still having a few years left in the tank, and you help facilitate a trade elsewhere. If I'm the Lakers, you keep him if he wants to stay. If that's the key point here.
Yeah.
If LeBron wants to stay, then you keep him there and you try to make it work with Luka.
To me, I don't mind trading him to improve somebody else's chances right now, because you are now the Magic, the Thunder, the Rockets, and the Spurs. You are now looking to the future.
Yes.
Okay. So to me, if you're getting
not that far in the future.
No, but like a few years, you're fine. No, I mean, Rockets are contending. They're looking within 2 to 3 years. These are good teams. They're looking to contend within 2 to 3 years. You should also be a contender within 2 to 3 years.
Yes.
So to me, anything you do for that, like trading LeBron, totally fine. If you gauge LeBron's interest, if he doesn't even have to want to be traded, if he says, I'm okay with the trade if you bring one to me and I approve the destination, I would gauge what you can get. Definitely. That's the most important thing. If you keep him, no big deal. You get to sell, fans fill the seats. You get this legendary story of LeBron and Luka together, these two Hall of Famers who play similar styles of basketball to some extent. And, by the time LeBron is on the way out and his contract is expiring and he retires, you'll be ready to do more. So I'm okay for a year and a half, whatever. Sticking
maybe
with
even less, maybe even less. Gauge his interest. Don't gauge his interest right now, unless
I would gauge his interest instantly, right now. Because look, man, now you have Luka Doncic at 25, and you don't have a lot of assets. So you've got nothing. You've got that 2031 pick, and what's his name, Reeves, Austin Reeves, and Dalton Connect, and that's it. And you kind of need, I think, Dalton Connect as a shooter around Luka. You'd kind of want to keep that. Austin Reeves, probably expendable. Secondary ball handler is nice, but I definitely see if you can upgrade a different position in your defense by trading him, that'd be more important right now. So to me, I would not maximize this year's playoff run anymore.
No. The only thing I would do, the only thing I would do is you definitely need a big, because you can't be a competent team with Jackson Hayes as your starting five. And then I hope that Rui Hachimura and Jordan Vanderbilt and Markieff Morris can play a few minutes in the 5 spot. You just can't. You need to get somebody. Like you said, you mentioned Jalen Smith from the Chicago Bulls. There are plenty of other centers throughout. Heck, the Chicago Bulls just picked up Zach Collins. If they want Zach Collins, we'll give them Zach Collins.
Zach Collins, I hate to break it to you, is a negative contract. But he might be neutral for the Lakers. So
he might be neutral for we'll see. Like I said, there are moves to be made. If you're the Lakers, just go after that big. I think just go with the roster you have right now. See what works. See what fits with Luka.
If the Bulls could dump Zach Collins and not take on any salary for next year, that would be awesome. You don't need anything.
It'd be a deal.
Yeah,
it'd be ideal. Just some contract dumping for sure. But there are options. Obviously, the big name is there. Vucevic. I don't think he fits. I don't think he makes sense. I'd rather
doesn't make any sense. I mean, offensively, it'd be very cool. But this team's problem is defense.
Yes, 100%. So we'll see what happens in the coming days leading up to the trade deadline on Thursday. We'll see what happens in the offseason. The Lakers have definitely drastically improved their outlook in the future. They've easily transitioned from the LeBron era to now the Luka era. This is the first time in LeBron James' probably entire career where he's not the focal point of the franchise anymore. That is Luka. And if they at any point in time try to, prioritize LeBron, they're doing things the wrong way. Yeah. If LeBron wants to be around towards the tail end,
I think
true.
It's highly possible he does, and he will enjoy passing the baton to Luka. It could be something fun.
This could definitely rejuvenize. Yeah, they could definitely rejuvenize his career for sure, and his enjoyment in basketball. So we'll see how.
I want to get one because again, the guys in the Dallas, fans, the Mavericks fans, and the city of Dallas. I said this before. to someone. I can't recall. Maybe on social media. I don't know. But the feeling in that city, and if you
Yes.
go on the Mavs Reddit and there are other other social media, you see this from the fans everywhere. You see it in the city. They were gathering at American Airlines Center like in mourning, basically.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what they feel like right now. Actually, I can, because I'm going to liken it to how this city, Chicago, was. It was funereal. It was like it was for weeks outside. You
Yeah.
could palpably feel it, and that came from even people who didn't give a shit about sports. And that's when the Cubs lost the 2003 NLCS. I remember being on the way to school, and it was dead silence on the L. Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
That the feeling in that city, my heart goes out to like, this is a betrayal
Yes.
of an epic proportions. And
It'd be like the Bulls trading Derrick Rose prior to his ACL injury in 2011.
yeah, yeah, it's
Like
completely insane. After he was an MVP candidate, basically.
100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all we have here, folks. Bosh, you want to plug anything before we head out of here?
I'm good. If you're on Blue Sky, you can follow me on Blue Sky. I'm at systemlord.bsky.social. I might change that handle, but that's me for
Mhm.
now. So
Okay. All right. And you can follow me everywhere at SES Vince, whether that's Blue Sky, Instagram, or everywhere else in between. Follow the show at 606 Universe everywhere. We'll be migrating over to Blue Sky as well. So that'll happen at some point.
yeah,
But definitely go over to youtube.com/ at 606 Universe, spell out the first six, and you'll find all the content there, all the video content for sure as well. And check us out wherever audio podcasts can be found. That being said, SES Vince, Basharat, this has been the 606. We'll catch you guys next time. Later, y'all.
peace.